You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network, the home of the Options Podcast. For more quality options programs, visit theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app available in the iTunes and Google Play stores. Select programs are also available via live stream at mixlr.com/options-insider. That's mixlr.com/options-insider. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options, stocktwits.com/options, facebook.com/theoptionsinsider, or via questions at theoptionsinsider.com. Bitcoin, Ether, Solana, Doge, and more. Cryptocurrencies and digital assets are taking the financial world by storm. This exploding market provides everything a savvy trader needs: volatility, volume, and liquidity, provided you know how to find it. That's where we come in. Welcome to the Crypto Rundown. Each week, we'll break down the latest trading activity, trends, and developments throughout the world's leading crypto derivatives markets. If it's moving the crypto markets, then you'll find it on the Crypto Rundown. The Crypto Rundown is brought to you by Amber Data. If you're entering the digital asset class, you'll need access to granular on-chain and market data from multiple venues to power research, trading, risk management, and compliance. Amber Data delivers comprehensive data and insights into blockchain networks, crypto markets, and decentralized finance, empowering financial institutions to apply traditional finance methods to digital assets. Amber Data eliminates the infrastructure setup, integration challenges, and maintenance headaches to access digital asset data, reducing cost and time to market to enter the digital asset class. Learn more and download their digital asset data guide at www.amberdata.io. Now it's time to dive into the exploding world of crypto derivatives. It's time for the Crypto Rundown.
All right, everybody. That music means we are back once again. It is time for the Crypto Rundown, the program here on the Options Insider Radio Network, where we explore markets outside of our traditional stomping grounds. Not going to be talking about your VIX options or your Tesla or your SPY or any of that kind of fun here on the show. No, we're going to go a little bit farther afield, explore what's going on in the world of your Bitcoins and your ETHs and all things crypto derivatives. My name, of course, Mark Longo from theoptionsinsider.com, as well as from the ever-compelling network upon which so many of you are mainlining these days. Remember, if you want more content in your lives, and who can blame you? First off, make sure you're subscribed to the full network on whatever platform you get this show on. It's available just about everywhere under the sun. Your iTunes, your Google Podcasts, your Audibles, your YouTubes, you name it. You can find it in all those places. If you like what you hear, throw some stars so new folks can continue to discover the content out there. And of course, if you want to go above and beyond, you want more content like exclusive pro Q&As, exclusive unusual activity, live access to this, everything else we do, great giveaways, and a whole bunch more. theoptionsinsider.com/pro, the place to go to learn more. As we go on into our first segment, it is time to roll out the Crypto Hot Seat.
Forget about cold storage. It's time to turn up the heat on thought leaders from the world of cryptocurrencies and digital assets. It's time to take their place on the Crypto Hot Seat.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Crypto Hot Seat, the portion of the program where we welcome on guests from throughout the world of crypto derivatives and indeed beyond. And today we are certainly going beyond. Should be a fun one because I am joined today by a newcomer to the program and indeed to the network. He is Oleg Fomenko, the founder of the Sweat Economy and one of the creators, one of the launchers of the Sweat app. Oleg, welcome to the Crypto Rundown program.
Thank you very much for having me, Mark. You certainly have an amazing voice for the radio, so hopefully I'll not pale too much in next year.
I'll try to keep you elevated here on the show. But thank you for those kind words. Let's get into it, Oleg, because you are a first-timer here on the program and indeed on the network. So let's start as we do with all of our first-timers here, give our audience a bit of an overview of your background in the crypto space, as well as what it is you folks do over there at the Sweat Economy.
Brilliant question, and so great serve. I looked at Bitcoin for the first time in 2011, and I was just absolutely taken aback by the white paper and also just the whole idea of merging tech and psychology, and for technology not having to deal with all the different edge cases, but just declare outright, well, if there's more than 51% of kind of nefarious actors, the whole thing would fall flat on its face. I just found it absolutely fascinating and spent countless hours reading everything. I was, of course, really stupid because, you know what? I got engaged into tech. I did not buy a few thousand Bitcoins back then, which would have come in very, very handy, given that they were like 20 cents when I started paying attention to it. So, and ever since, I was really, really interested in crypto and was trying to weave crypto into businesses that I was running or starting. And the opportunity presented itself in 2014 when me and my co-founder started talking about a very interesting question, which is, why aren't we as active as we want to be? You know, I went for a run in Richmond Park, London, where I lived back then, and I could barely complete 5K without holding, onto my chest. And a few years before, I was able to climb some of the highest mountains in the world. And I was fit as a fiddle. Granted, there was startup, there were 2 young children, there were crazy stresses and, massive excesses of working countless hours. But still, losing all your fitness in 3 years is extremely disappointing. So we started talking, how is that possible and why does that happen and why everyone wants to be more active than they are now, regardless if you are sitting in front of a TV with beer at 11 o'clock, depressed, unemployed, or you are an ultramarathon runner. Everyone wants to be more active. How is that possible? And the answer turned out to be very, very simple. It's not motivation, it's not money, it's not time, it's not support of people close to you, it's not a personal trainer. The answer is nature. Nature does not want you to be active. Nature wants you to survive, which means not to spend calories, but to preserve them. And nature is so serious that this is what you should do, that it gave us this behavioral, well, back then it was feature, right now it is a bug, called present bias. So you are sit right here, right now, without moving, unless there is food on the horizon, or of course somebody is about to make food out of you. And there is only one way to overcome present bias. It's instant gratification. So we thought about it and we kind of, interesting, okay, can we create instant gratification for moving? And that's how the idea of Sweatcoin was born. So we launched in 2015. It became great success very, very quickly. We scaled to millions of users, and because of that, we couldn't actually build on blockchain, which back then existed only as a Bitcoin blockchain. There were no other contenders. We looked at Ethereum, and then every year we had a tradition. We looked at other blockchains and tried to understand, are they fast enough? Can they keep us, keep us going? And believe it or not, until last year, the answer was consistently no. And last year, all of a sudden, there were Algorand, Solanas, Avalanches, BNB, Polygons, and of course Near that we ultimately chose. So only last year in September, nearly 8 years after our launch, we were able to move into crypto, and I'm very, very happy to say that now anyone in the world, and very, very soon in the US as well, you will be able to walk for crypto. How? Very simple. You install free app that is called Sweatcoin, and it is available anywhere in the world. You register and you start walking. It's absolutely free. There is no skin off your nose. We register your step and we convert them into sweat coins. For those people outside of the US, you can actually tap on the banner and opt into walking for crypto, and then some of your steps will be converted into sweat, our crypto token, build and near, and some will continue being converted into sweat coins. If you're in the US, this is a wonderful opportunity right now because you now will be earning only sweat coins, but on the 12th of September, when we open the floodgates and we convert your sweat coins into sweat, everything that you earned up until that moment is effectively going to get converted, and you're going to get a reasonable amount of sweat the community allocated for the launch. But I'll shut up and wait till your next question.
No, you hit on everything. We're pretty much done. I'm just kidding. There's a lot to unpack there, Oleg. You mentioned an interesting issue, which is a lot of our guests have complained about in the past, which is the difficulty of scaling something on the blockchain. And you folks certainly had to scale. You mentioned you launched in 2016. Last year, Sweatcoin, the most popular fitness app worldwide, over 50 million downloads. So certainly scaling was an issue for you folks. And interesting to see that you're right. We have seen this plethora of alternatives that have allowed you to be able to scale. Do you think all these alternatives is what's allowed you to really reach this milestone in terms of users and scalability, Oleg, where maybe that wasn't possible even in, let's say, 2020?
Possible, but I actually think it's the simplicity of product and the elegance of proposition that we worked on for so many years. I mean, our product is free, our product is extremely simple, and our proposition is just really, really, really easy to communicate. It pays to walk, and it seems extremely easy on the surface, but it took a very, very long time to actually hone down and perfect it. And the reason why we had such an explosion last year was also because we started talking finally about letting you walk into crypto. And in many countries, especially in Latin America and in Asia, this has been absolute music to people's ears. So, we had one day when we had 3.5 million new users come into Sweatcoin. That was absolutely incredible. It never happened in health and fitness. Of course, in social media, there were some projects and there were some apps that have enjoyed this type of scale, but in health and fitness, that has never happened and certainly hasn't happened since.
You're right. It certainly seems to have resonated with essentially a lot of international listeners and users. Of course, a lot of our audience here in the U.S., which your app is now available in the U.S., and you're starting to roll out some of the other functionality. So let's run it down really quickly for some of our U.S. listeners who may not be familiar with all the concepts and the terminology you're throwing out there. You mentioned you walk in the app, so you go download the Sweat app, listeners, and you walk, and then roughly every 1,000 steps translates into one sweat coin. So if you're doing your 10,000 steps a day, you're going to get 10 sweat coins a day, which you could then purchase in-app. It functions similar to, let's say, loyalty programs we've seen for a lot of other things here in the U.S. You can use those points in the app to buy a variety or even bid on a variety of different things like gift cards. You can also donate them to charity if you were feeling altruistic. Now with the upcoming launch here of the Sweat Wallet app, which is coming up in a couple of weeks on September 12th, listeners, going to be a little bit of a different prospect. So Oleg, walk our listeners through how things are going to change now with the launch of the wallet. How many of their steps are going to be converted into sweat coins versus sweat tokens? Break it all down for them, sir.
Okie dokie. So if you want to walk into crypto, the process is simple. You open an App Store or Google Play and type Sweat Coin, and you install that app, you register. And what you need to do is just hold as and take as many steps as you can and acquire as many sweat coins as you can. You can also speed up the process by becoming a premium subscriber. It's only like $24, I believe, a year, but you can convert, instead of just 10,000 steps, you can convert up to 20,000 steps, and you also earn double sweat coins that come effectively from us and our treasury as a bonus for being a premium user. Now, as Mark said, you can take these sweat coins and you can go to the marketplace and you can buy plenty of stuff there. There is like health, fitness, sport brands, there is fashion, there are accessories. For those who are dog owners, and I know that dog owners absolutely love our app, there are also dog accessories periodically popping in, etc. But what you can also do is aim for our launch, which is going to happen on 12th of September. And in order to participate in it, on the main screen, you find a banner that says Walk into Crypto. Click on that and register. Effectively, this is a creation of your crypto account, crypto address on Near blockchain. And at the end, you will be able to install Sweat Wallet, which is your mobile application that will allow you to manage Sweat, our crypto token that is going to go live on the 12th of September in the US, and all other tokens that exist in the world of crypto on top of that. And what will happen is that you, at the moment, are going to see only countdown. Don't worry about it. Just acquire as many Sweat coins as you possibly can. And then on the 12th, what will happen is sums of all Sweat coins on all accounts of all users that opted into launch, opted into this start of operation in the US, will be tallied up, and there will be total. And we have 690 million Sweat allocated by the community for the launch. And basically, you are going to get a proportion of that you have in the total number of Sweat coins of that Sweat. And that's going to land on your account at the end of the day on the 12th of September. Your Sweat wallet is going to be live, and you're going to be able to do all of those things that Sweat wallet users can do, which are effectively open grow jars. What is grow jar? It's like a savings account. You can basically put your Sweat and earn interest, earn yield on it. And the more Sweat you put, the more rewards you can win, because we have a constant stream of very, very interesting rewards, including Teslas. We already have one winner of Tesla Model 3 and one winner of Tesla Model Y. That happened very, very recently. And many more other things. Some of them are extremely interesting and entertaining. For example, we have somebody who is called Chief Walking Officer, and this gentleman is walking for a living and is getting paid on a monthly basis to walk, to report, and to entertain community and to share his updates on how his Chief Walking Officer life is going. So there are lots and lots of exciting rewards. But that doesn't end there. We are about to go live with our second iteration of a free game. Effectively, everyone gets their NFT or collectible, which we call legs. You will understand when you see them why they're called legs. And it's not, because my name is Oleg. It's, it's because of legs. And as you walk more and as you play more, you basically train your legs and you battle with other people for Sweat. And the winner takes it all. I'm not going to explain the mechanic. If somebody is really, really keen, you can find it online. But it is extremely interesting, very, very entertaining game that we've already tested outside of the US for a period of time. And the last but not least is learn and earn, because we know quite a lot of our users are basically using us as their pass, their onboard into Web3. And we spend a lot of time creating content for them and explaining to them how can they engage in staking, what is the transfer, how do you send and receive, what are the bridges, and basically pulling people in and giving them content that helps them to familiarize themselves with the Web3 world. And literally, you walk into crypto. You don't have to pay for the app. You don't have to buy an NFT like some of our move to earn competitors do. We are definitely building a sustainable economy. And for those who are interested in tokens and token economics, I don't know if you were planning to cover that. Last month, our token has become deflationary. So we were able to achieve more demand than supply only 11 months into our life. And this is before we launch in the US and a few other markets, which is going to further improve economics of our network.
A lot to unpack there as well. You mentioned, token economics. That could be a whole show in and of itself. And a lot of people approach it in different ways, trying to strike that balance between supply and demand. I think you guys were initially talking about 5,000 steps were going to be minted into a sweat token. It sounds like you said with the premium, you can bump that up. But also, I'm sure as let's say a year or two goes by, you're going to be adjusting those numbers. So is that the plan, to deal with the supply-demand balance? Maybe a year from now, it'll, instead of being 5,000 steps for a sweat coin, it'll be 10, something along those lines, Oleg?
Yeah, but it's not going to be us that's going to make the decision. It is going to be the community. We already had some of the biggest governance votes in the history of Web3. The one, for example, that allocated funds for the US launch, we had 380,000 people casting the vote. It is absolutely incredible. It's unparalleled. Normally no DAO is getting such a big engagement. So in order to change token economics, we'll definitely be consulting with the community. And I'm really looking forward to more crypto natives and crypto curious in the US joining, so that we have even more participation and people are shaping the way our token economics is developing into the future. We're definitely very, very serious about this, because unlike a lot of projects that just simply produce token, they slap some utility on it, we have a unique and very different take on it, which is our token is not a token in the sense that a lot of other projects would be trying to describe to you. Our token is your tokenized physical activity, because we believe that your physical activity has value. The movement that you take and the calories that you burn and the sweat that you produce are actually valuable, not just to you, but to people around you. Your family certainly wants to see you physically active. Your healthcare provider certainly wants to see you more physically active, because then you're going to be, kind of coming and visiting them less often. Your insurer is definitively very motivated to make you more physically active, especially if they provide your health and life insurance. Your employer is extremely motivated to see their employees more physically active, because that means better mood, more productivity, lower absenteeism, a longer life, for employees. And ultimately, countries are benefiting from making you more physically active, because you're going to live longer. You're going to be economically active for longer. You're going to produce more tax revenues. So making the world more physically active is good business for everybody. Now, I can give you reference. We have an advertising economy, or shall we call it attention economy. By some estimates, this is $7 trillion industry. Now, interestingly, that physical activity, like attention, is similar to attention. It gives you benefits, but it also gives benefits to a lot of other parties that are willing to pay for it. Now, our thesis is, if attention has managed to create $7 trillion economy, we think that physical activity or movement can be even bigger. 7 trillion is 4 times the size of the whole crypto. So we're definitely early. Crypto has a very, very long way to go. If one puny token, Sweat, that has just been launched 11 months ago, has an aspiration of building an economy that will be larger than $7 trillion. So, I think that there is a lot ahead of us.
Very interesting. Of course, you mentioned tracking, a lot of parties being interested in that. That always causes some people here, especially in the U.S., some of their hairs on the back of their neck to stand up. They obviously very zealously guard their privacy here, and rightfully so. So what do you say to the listeners out there who are listening to this? They say, this all sounds pretty cool, but then the notion of, let's say, their insurer or their employer or their government tracking their health activity may be a little bit off-putting to them. What do you say to those folks, Oleg?
I'm one of you guys, and I would never let this information sneak out to those entities directly. I mean, we're based in Europe, and our data collected is subject to GDPR. You probably heard it's the most draconian privacy protecting law in the whole world. We have never shared anyone's data with third parties. We never sold it, and we never will. And this is actually the reason why we created Sweat, because if you think about it, it is a guaranteed evidence of verified physical activity without containing any personal identifiable information, like where you walked, when you walked, how many steps exactly have you walked. So this is an opportunity to obfuscate that data, hide it, but for every party in the value chain to be absolutely sure that Sweat was born from the verified physical activity. This is our role. If you think about it, kind of all the central banks are free to print money whenever they feel the need and the board decides. In our case, it is you who produces verified physical activity that decides when the next Sweat is printed. But there is a trick. There is a there is a very interesting and very important element of our token economics. Every next Sweat takes more steps to mint. And why have we done it? We've done it for two reasons. First of all, it's obvious that it is better return on investment to walk earlier and more than later and less. So if you have an opportunity to go for a walk right now, do it now. Don't wait for the weekend, because this is a better ROI on your physical activity. But there is another benefit, which is slowing down token emissions over time and ensures that inflation of monetary mass over time approaches zero. If you add on top of it community votes and periodical burns of tokens that community votes on, you are becoming deflationary, which is what I mentioned we have already been able to achieve from the month of July.
Well, Oleg, this has certainly been a fascinating conversation. We have to keep on rolling with the rest of our show, but you certainly do get the award, Oleg, for one of the more unique guests. You have a lot of guests come on, talk about various utility tokens and other things along the lines. No one's ever come on to talk about sweating for crypto before, so you definitely get that award, Oleg. And before we roll on with the rest of the show,
thank you.
Hit our listeners again with the details. All of it's coming up on September 12th for our U.S. listeners. So really quickly, if they want to get involved in this again, give them the salient bullet points. What do they need to do before September 12th, sir?
Great question. App Store, Google Play, type Sweatcoin, install free app, and collect as many Sweatcoins as possible. Find a banner that says walk into crypto, tap on it, follow the instructions. If in doubt, go to Twitter, I'm sure you're familiar with it, or now it's called x.com, and find Sweat Economy. Or you can follow directly me. My handle is Oleg, OLEG_FEM. Tap me for questions, and I'd be more than happy to engage directly, answer any questions. If you write us an email or if you go to our Discord, I'm frequently there as well. We run AMAs. We are really, really engaged with our community. You'll be definitely in a very, very good company. But the path starts with installing that Sweatcoin app that tracks your steps, but never, ever leaks or sells your data. You can be absolutely confident in that.
Well, Oleg, I appreciate you taking some time to explain to us how to sweat our way into crypto. Good luck with the upcoming launch. We'll be keeping an eye on it on September 12th, sir.
Thank you very much, Mark, for having me, and it's been an absolute pleasure.
All right, listeners, now it's time for us to keep on rolling with the rest of the show, right on into the Bitcoin Breakdown.
It's time to explore the latest trending activity, trends, and developments across the world's leading crypto market. It's time for the Bitcoin Breakdown.
All right, everyone, welcome to the Bitcoin Breakdown. Hope you enjoyed that. Very fascinating, something different for us here on the show. So I say the Crypto Hot Seat is about crypto derivatives and indeed beyond. And we certainly went beyond out there today. Have you tried the Sweat app? 50 million people out there worldwide seem to be liking it. So intriguing stuff going on out there and a different way to mint some crypto. I can understand if you have some privacy concerns with all that tracking. So check out all that information he mentioned about how they spell out how they use your data. And I'm curious, are you folks using it? Are you intrigued? Hit us up. Let us know as we keep on rolling into the show today, listeners. And Bitcoin, obviously we were off last week for one of the big holidays here on the network. If you're not sure what it was, listeners, just go check out some of the recorded episodes. You'll see what we were doing last Monday, mostly leading into last Tuesday, which was the big day. Big day of the year here on the network. But coming into the start of the show now, 2 weeks later, we have seen a wee bit of a decline, a wee bit of a drop, a wee bit of a sell-off out there in the old BTC. On our last show, we were a little bit north of 29,000, about 29,310. Coming into the start of the show 2 weeks later, a little bit north of the 26,000 level, 26,099 to be precise. You're talking 3,210 handles to the dark side. So crypto taking a bit of a hiatus, a bit of a pause, a bit of a breather during the dog days of summer here. What does that mean from a vol perspective? Well, we were talking for a while about how vol has been slowly and steadily eroding out there in Bitcoin. Yeah, this fairly aggressive sell-off we've seen over the last week to 2 weeks has really injected a little bit more vol back into the space. Not much, but enough to be noticeable. Last show, we were shy of the 30 handle, which is getting pretty anemic out there in crypto vol land. We were at a 29.85. That's the lowest I've seen this since we've been talking about it here on the show. This week, not surprisingly, ticking up a wee bit, up to about a 33.20. So you're talking a little over about 3.3 points on the last couple of weeks. So interesting, seeing a little bit more vol. And again, that is to be expected. Whenever you have one of these somewhat aberrant moves, it's going to generate a little bit more paper, especially when the skew has been as flat as it has been. No bias, no bids, no premiums, no concerns in really any direction. So if you start moving in any direction for a protracted period of time, you're going to start to see some of that vol tick up. And that's pretty much what we saw. Speaking of vol, let's get out there a little bit longer term and see how things are cooking. Let's go out, let's say, let's go 6 months. We were just talking about 30 days. Let's go out even farther. Let's go out half a year. And the vol, even last show, was below a 40, which is getting pretty low for longer term vol as well, about 39.25. Coming into the start of today's show, 44.5, so ticking up a little over 5 points out there as well. So vol ticking up, which is probably not too surprising out there, especially given the price action we've seen in Bitcoin since the last show. Let's get out to the skew, see what's going on out there. And not surprisingly, some swings there as well. Let's start in the near data stuff, which kind of shows you what is top of mind for the crypto space right now. Are they leaning upside? They're leaning downside right now. And on our last show, they were leaning to the upside, about 3 points positive skew, which again, that's talking about the differential and the applied volatility from the roughly 25 delta calls to the roughly 25 delta puts. That was 3 points in the positive direction, which meant there was a little bit of a bias to the upside. Coming into the start of this week, not surprisingly, we have swung in the other direction. Is now a negative 3.6, so bias to the dark side, which again, we have dropped about 3,000 handles since our last show, so not exactly surprising. Longer term skew going out a month, same deal. We were positive 2.5 on our show 2 weeks ago. This week, negative 2.25, so swinging almost 5 points to the dark side there as well. Longer term, going out 6 months, things tend to be a little bit more muted, a little bit saner, a little bit more level-headed out there. And that's pretty much what we saw out there as well. In fact, the skew has actually come in a little bit, which is interesting. It was still biased to the upside, about 4 points on our show 2 weeks ago, and about 3.3 points right now. So not a huge change out there. Let's go out to the OI front, which again, we're coming up to the end of August, listeners, so we're going to see another big OI hit coming up here in a couple of sessions out here right now. The calls on Deribit right now is 189,000 of them open, up about 8,000. The puts, 89,000, up about 1,000. So not a lot of evolution, but again, it is the dog days of summer, listeners. So these are not supposed to be very active and certainly not very volume-heavy times. These are notorious for being some of the thinner markets you're going to see all year. Dog days of summer and, of course, late December, the two periods we're really going to see some pretty thin markets out there. Let's go out to a product I know a lot of you like to use, even though we have seen a lot of you writing in for other surrogates for crypto options trading, like Mara and Riot and others. Not quite one-to-one there, but a lot of volume in those products. We haven't seen a ton of volume in Bitto, which this sell-off doesn't really seem to have given them any lift from a volume perspective. Bitto at about a 1340 when we kicked off the show, down nearly 2 points, about 1.8 points to the dark side. The ADV moving in the wrong direction, even with that move. It's down about 4,000 contracts a day to 24,000 contracts a day now. So not that long ago, it was averaging close to 100,000 contracts a day. So Bitto has certainly fallen off from a volume perspective. And today, not going to turn things around. 6,500 contracts on the tape. Again, dog days of summer, so give that number some context, but still pretty light out there. Vol-wise, though, we are starting to see a little bit of a resurgence, which is to be expected. North of 40 right now, 40.6. That puts it up a little over 6, about 6.1 points on the week. So if you were a little bit hesitant to, let's say, write a covered call against your Bitto positions, or perhaps to write a put to get into something, you're getting paid a little bit more for that now than you were. Still not explosive. I mean, we went from pretty much the first percentile for vol on the year to now we're at about the 5th percentile. So we're not exploding up the vol charts yet, but it's a little bit more respectable. Let's see if things are respectable in the top positions in BitO land. Right now, if you look at the top 10, it is still all calls all the time, not a put to be found, which is kind of interesting and maybe a little bit surprising, listeners. Let's go out to the top 5 right now in terms of size positions open in BitO right now. Number 5, we have 27,000 of the Jan 15s. Number 4, jumping out a year to Jan of 2025, we have 41,000 of the Jan 25 calls. Number 3, staying in that longer-term Jan cycle, we have 63,000 of the Jan 2025 35 calls. So we've talked about that for a while, that seemingly 25-35 vertical or ratio, whatever's going on out there. It's been open for a bit and probably going to be open for a while longer. Number 2, 63,000 of the regular Jan expiring next year, 65 calls. Do you like those, listeners? BitO's Jan 65s? Interesting. And then the top dog position out there, which seems to have grown a bit since our last show, 81,000 of the Jan 2025 30s. Again, given that price action we've seen over the past couple of weeks, 30 seems a long way away, but that is all the way out to Jan of 2025. And we do know that crypto can move on a dime when it has the spirit to do so. Meanwhile, it's time for us to keep on moving to explore what's going on beyond the old BTC. It is time to explore the altcoin universe.
It's time to move beyond Bitcoin and find out what's moving the rest of the crypto marketplace. It's time to boldly venture into the altcoin universe.
All right, everybody, welcome to the altcoin universe, the portion of the show we break down everything lighting it up outside of the big dog, which is BTC, except for right now where we're talking about top 10 from a market cap perspective. And things not looking too different from what they were a few weeks ago. It cost you about $6.8 billion to break into the top 10 from a market cap perspective again. That once again gets you to Tron, listeners, our old friend Tron. Number 9, Solana, $8.4 billion. Number 8, it's Doge. So holding out there, the number 7, number 8 spot. Once again, it is Doge, $8.9 billion worth of market cap. Number 7 is Cardano, $9.3 billion. Number 6, USD Coin, $26 billion. Number 5, XRP, $27.5 billion. XRP coming back off those 70-odd cent highs, looking not that far away from where it was before all these decisions started to come down. So that's kind of interesting. Number 4, BNB, $218. That puts it at about, BNB right now, $33.6 billion worth of market cap. Number 3, it's Tether, $82.8 billion. Number 2, you know what it is. It's ETH, number 1 in a lot of your hearts, $198 billion worth of market cap. And the big dog, once again, it is Bitcoin, $508 billion. So threatening to break $500 billion in the wrong direction if this decline continues out there. Let's go out to the land of ETH, 1842 on our show 2 weeks ago. Coming into start of this week, 1648. So almost 200 handles below. About 194. And when you round it all up, listeners, at the end of the day. In between, we had a little bit of a run. We got a high of about 1853. That was during our show 2 weeks ago. And the low came actually almost 100 points below this, 1551. That was on August 17th. So a little bit of loving, a little bit of living, a little bit of activity out there in all things Bitcoin. By the way, I neglected to talk about the highs and lows when we're talking about Bitcoin out there. And that low came on August 17th as well. So that was the nadir for both products. The low in Bitcoin was 25,409. And the high came again during our show 2 weeks ago of 29,660. So that gives you some frame of reference for how these two have fared over the course of the past 2 weeks. In terms of vol, similar story to what we're seeing out there in Bitcoin. Also similar levels. We were back in the 20s on Bitcoin 2 weeks ago. We were in the 20s as well in ETH, which again, strange. ETH should be structurally more volatile than Bitcoin, but right now it's actually looking lower. It was 27 on our show 2 weeks ago. Coming into the start of the show now, it's at about a 30. So intriguing, still very anemic from an ETH vol perspective. Going out a little bit farther out, going out about 6 months, it was about a 35 on our show 2 weeks ago, and a little bit north of a 40, almost a 41 on the show this week. So popping a little over 5, almost 6 points over the course of the past 2 weeks. Skew-wise, there was pretty much nothing going on in terms of skew on the show 2 weeks ago. When we went to the near-dated skew, people just seemed to be just shrugging their shoulders. It was, again, heading into the dog days of August. Nobody seemed to care. Everybody was out doing something else. And the skew was exactly flat. Now coming into the start of this show, the skew has swung to the dark side about -5, actually -4.5 when we kicked off the show. In terms of going out a little bit farther, 1 month skew, it was slightly negative on the show 2 weeks ago, -1. Now Same thing as the weekly skew, negative 4.5 there, going out a month as well. So the bias clearly to the dark side, which is understandable. Going out 6 months, our last show, the skew was flat. So once again, ETH kind of shrugging its shoulders, saying, we don't know where we're going right now. Coming into the start of this show, negative 1.5. So ever so slightly bearish going out a little bit longer term on ETH, which is a little bit surprising. Let's go out to the OI, see what we got cooking out there. And the answer is not a heck of a lot there either. Again, August listeners. It was 2.16 million calls open on Deribit at the start of the show. That's down about 20,000 from this time 2 weeks ago. The puts 703,000, up 11. So not surprising, puts ticking up a little bit, calls coming off. Not a heck of a lot of evolution out there. Let's run through the rest of the altcoin universe, and we'll get out of here for this week, listeners. Let's go out to Solana on our show last week, or just say our show 2 weeks ago. 24.75 coming into the start of the show today, 20.60, so down about $4.15 over the course of the last 2 weeks. So they're coming for Solana a wee bit. XRP, same deal, 63.2 cents 2 weeks ago, 52.2 cents this week. So coming in 11 cents on the week. So again, all that premium, all that juice people had bottled up, waiting for some of these decisions to come down in XRP Ripple land. A lot of that going away over the course of the past 2 weeks out there. Dogecoin, similar deal, 7.4 cents 2 weeks ago, 6.3 cents this week. So all you Doge lovers, unfortunately, no joy to be found for you folks this week. Litecoin, same deal. They really came for Litecoin over the last 2 weeks. It was $82, pretty much exactly 2 weeks ago. Coming into the start of this show, almost $65, so down nearly $17 on the last 2 weeks. So they have come for Litecoin. Cardano looking a little bit less annihilated by comparison, 28.8 cents last show, 26.5 cents this week, so down a little over about 2.3 cents. Polkadot, $4.99 2 weeks ago, $4.59 this week, so down 40 cents. And everyone's favorite Shiba Inu taking a bit of a break as well. It was 0.00001 on the show 2 weeks ago. This week it was a whopping 0.00008. So Shiba Lambo is once again looking like a distant prospect. All right, that music means we are done for another week. A very fascinating episode this week, if I do say so myself. A lot of interesting stuff to discuss, including the realm of walking for crypto, sweating it out for crypto. I want to thank our guest, Oleg Fomenko, the founder of Sweat Economy out there. So certainly seems like a lot of people are sweating their way into crypto. Are you intrigued? Are you maybe put off by the privacy issues? I'm curious. Hit us up. Let us know. It sounds like a lot of people are using it. So are you one of the many? Are you going to download the wallet and try to actually mint some actual tokens that you could swap for real deal USD? Or you like to stick with the old sweat coins and just trade them for digital goods? That's intriguing as well, but an intriguing prospect. And again, with all these new emerging token economies, a lot of interesting things, a lot of economic practices being put into play in real time and in real life. So it's kind of interesting to watch how these things play out, how these various token economies deal with things like the supply-demand balance. How do you make sure people are incentivized to keep using it and generating tokens? And all these other interesting things. We touched on that with Oleg. Obviously, we can do multiple episodes on the structure of token economies, but we'll have to leave it for there today. Of course, all the data we talked about on the show today coming at you courtesy of our friends over there at Amber Data. Check them out, amberdata.io, the place to go to kick the tires and light the fires. Stay tuned to the rest of the network throughout the rest of the week. A lot of great content coming at you. If you want even more in your lives, you know where to go, theoptionsinsider.com/pro, the place to go to get exclusive pro Q&As, including a lot of them touching on the crypto markets, as well as great options oddity shows where we break down a whole world full of unusual activity, including talked about BITO options recently on that show. And then, of course, live access to this and everything else we do. So if you had a question for one of our guests coming into the crypto hot seat, if you're in the pro, you type it right in there. Maybe we'll work it into the show. And then, of course, giveaways and a whole bunch more. theoptionsinsider.com/pro. Stay safe out there, listeners, and we'll see you back here next week. Another episode of the Crypto Rundown.
The Crypto Rundown is brought to you by Amber Data. If you're entering the digital asset class, you'll need access to granular on-chain and market data from multiple venues to power research, trading, risk management, and compliance. Amber Data delivers comprehensive data and insights into blockchain networks, crypto markets, and decentralized finance, empowering financial institutions to apply traditional finance methods to digital assets. Amber Data eliminates the infrastructure setup, integration challenges, and maintenance headaches to access digital asset data, reducing cost and time to market to enter the digital asset class. Learn more and download their digital asset data guide at www.amberdata.io. You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network, the home of the Options Podcast. For more quality options programs, visit theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app available in the iTunes and Google Play stores. Select programs are also available via live stream at mixlr.com/options-insider. That's mixlr.com/options-insider. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options, stocktwits.com/options, facebook.com/theoptionsinsider, or via questions at theoptionsinsider.com.